us on track. Because in the real world, in a meeting with your bosses, potentially, or clients, meetings need to be on time, they need to end when they're supposed to end, otherwise you are a bad meeting organizer. So today, I will hold up the green card and turn on the green light for those that have 2 minutes remaining in their speech. For those speakers, when they get to 1 minute 30, I will hold up the yellow card and the yellow light. And at time expired, excuse me, that was 1 minute, not 1 minute 30. At time expired, it will be the red light and the red card. And if you should go over that by 30 seconds, it will be the buzzer. And I'd love to use it. For our table topic speakers, those are 1 to 2 minutes. At 1 minute remaining, they'll see the green card and light. At 1 minute and 30, they'll see the yellow card. And at time expired, 2 minutes, they will see the red card and the red light. We also time our evaluators, and for those speeches today, our evaluators are asked to present from 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, they'll see the green card. At 2 minutes and 30, they'll see the yellow card. And at 3 minutes, the red card. And again, the buzzer if you go over by 30 seconds or more. Thank you.
So we're going to forego our inspiration, and we're gonna substitute that with our inductee ceremony at this time. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the time over to Chris, who's gonna do that for us.
Thank you, Ryan. We have one potential new member, Anne Streggy. If our Sergeant at Arms would escort Anne out to the hall, we have a short ceremony that we perform. And when you do return, to the imminent applause, would you please come to the front? All right, so.
Not quite yet.
Not happy. Sorry.
It's really hard to give Tanya an inimical stare when she is so exuberant. I have to work on my pronunciation. So, without further ado, Anne Streggy has given a application, and I would like to know with yay or nay. First of all, with yay, do we accept Anne as a new member?
Yay.
Yay. Any opposed? All right, let's give her some applause. Welcome, Anne. It is my honor to read. This is part of official protocol, and you are going to be the reintroduction of this. So here is our official Toastmasters induction text. And membership in Toastmasters is a privilege. And the only way to gain the benefits of our program is to actively participate. Do you, Anne Streggy, promise to be active member of this club, to attend meetings regularly, and prepare fully for your duties? Do you also promise to fulfill the other points in the Toastmasters promise? Fellow Toastmasters of High Nooners, do you promise to support Anne as she works through the Toastmaster program?
Yes.
It is my pleasure to declare you installed as a member of the Male High Nooners Toastmaster Club.
While that was a substitute for our inspiration, that was indeed inspiration. So welcome, Anne. We're glad to have you, and you'll soon come to find that this is a delightful bunch. So we welcome your participation. It's now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker this afternoon, which is Tanya. And Tanya will be giving her first speech out of the storytelling manual. And if we all recall, stories from childhood, whatever it may be, stories can be a powerful influence in our lives. And so we're looking forward to this first speech. It will be, the title is Emperor's New Clothes, which is requested 7 to 9 minutes. And we welcome her for this first storytelling speech.
In this year of elections, a folktale regarding a pompous man's undoing might just be the thing to brighten your day. The Emperor's New Clothes by Hans Christian Andersen. Fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Toastmaster, and welcome guests if there are guests. Welcome guest. Hello. Once upon a time, long ago and far, far, far away, there was an emperor who only cared about his fancy clothing. He didn't care about his armies or his people, or if there was food in the country, or if there was anything else to do. He just cared about walking around in his fancy clothing. I'm acting out how he might have walked around. He could never be found in court or in the room where you talk about war with the Secret Secretary of Defense, or meeting with his Prime Minister or his Chancellor. He could only be found in his humongous walk-in closet. He had a fancy outfit for every hour of every day of the year. The only time he would leave the castle is if it was an opportunity to show off a new outfit. One day, 2 swindlers arrived at the castle. And they knew something about this emperor. They knew about his habits. They knew about his likes of fancy clothing. They knew he liked to wear red velvet robes lined with zebra fur. They knew he liked to have jewels around his hair. He had long hair, long strawberry blonde hair that he swept just so and hairsprayed just well. And they told the Prime Minister and the Chancellor that they must meet with the Emperor. And of course, the Prime Minister and the Chancellor said, you can't meet with the Emperor. He's in his wardrobe. You're never going to find him. He's never coming out. They said, you might want to tell him something about us. There were 2 weavers, well, swindlers that pretended to be weavers. One was tall and huge. One was tiny and hunched over. And the tiny and hunched over one said, I think you want to meet with the Emperor. I think you want to tell him that we make a cloth that no one else in the world has, and it will allow him to see who is unfit for their job and who's a simpleton. Well, the Prime Minister and the Chancellor were quite impressed with this theory, so they went to the Emperor in his wardrobe and they knocked on the door. And of course the Emperor said, don't bother me, I'm looking at my clothing. They said, sir, we have 2 weavers here, and they have something important that you might want to hear. They have a cloth that when you wear it, you can actually look upon your subjects and see who is unfit for their position and who is a simpleton. You could really do some good here with that. And the Emperor said, new clothing? What? What? New clothing? I must see them. Bring them in. So just the thought of new clothing had him very excited and hyper. So the swindling weavers came in and they met in his wardrobe. And they said, oh, the big one said, oh, I see exactly that you are a fine purveyor of good cloth and good clothing. So let me tell you something. We have the cloth for you. We can design something that no one has ever worn before, but we have done it and we know it's magical. When you put on this clothing that we make for you, of course we use gold, thread, and the most finest silk made of special worms and spiders. When you put this stuff on, you will know immediately who is unfit for their position and who are simpletons and fools, and you can rid them from your land. And the Emperor thought to himself, that is handy. Of course, I am the wisest man in the land. I am smart and I am rich, super rich. So I will absolutely be able to tell. So he hired them and he said immediately to the Prime Minister, take them off to the tower, give them everything they need, gold, whatever they need, and I must have this outfit as soon as possible. So the weavers, swindling their way up to the tower, collected a chest of gold from the Prime Minister, locked the door and said, you must never enter this room until we are done. And every night, they counted their gold doubloons. And every day, they made noises in the room, pretending to work. And finally, after about 1 month, the emperor could not wait any longer. And he sent his prime minister and his chancellor up to the tower to see how they were coming along, because he wanted to have a grand procession to show off his new wardrobe, his new outfit. Prime Minister and the Chancellor went up to the tower, they knocked on the door, and of course the weavers answered, "You can't come in here, we're busy working." And they said, well, we must see what's going on. We must see the product. We must report back to the emperor. He's impatient and he wants to see it. So the weavers opened the door and pointed to the looms. And just then, the Prime Minister remembered, oh, crap. So a simpleton can't see it. And the Chancellor thought to himself, oh my God, a simpleton can't see it. Because there was nothing on the loom, of course. At that point, the weavers knew what they were doing, and they said, can you see the delicate intricacies of our cloth? Can you see the gold thread weaving through is it not the most beautiful article of cloth you've ever seen? We're just about to turn it into a robe, pantaloons, and a blouse for the emperor. And of course, they both said, oh, it's fantastic, it's stunning, it's beautiful. And away they went, back to the emperor to tell him exactly that everything was everything was good to go. So 1 month later, the emperor goes up to the tower to see the weavers, and again they show him the beautiful cloth, and the emperor is very impressed. So this is when the procession is going on. So the weavers don him, put the clothes on him, and as they're putting them on, they are make sure to say, doesn't this feel like you're almost wearing nothing? Of course, he was wearing nothing, but he wouldn't about to admit it, and he couldn't see it himself. He looked in the mirror, and he saw a naked man, and he said, oh, this is so beautiful. This is the most wondrous outfit I've ever had. And everyone in the court, as he came down into the castle, said the same thing. It's the most wonderful outfit you've ever had. And then he went out into the procession, and he marched, and the courtesans held the imaginary robe behind him, and he marched through the streets. And everyone in the land had heard about this wonderful, amazing golden clothing that only could be seen by the most brilliant and wise people. And nobody in the whole country wanted to be rid of their position. Nobody wanted to stop working as the baker or the butcher or the candlestick maker. So everyone was cheering and screaming how beautiful and amazing his outfit was. And the emperor was very proud of himself. And just as he was turning the corner, a little child peeked out behind his mom's skirt and said, oh, Mommy, the emperor's naked. Everyone stopped breathing and held their breath because they didn't know what was going to happen. And all of a sudden, the mommy said, shh, and then looked again. And everyone started to whisper. And at that moment, the emperor felt an inimical stare from the courtesans and the others. And he began to blush as they all started, he's not wearing any clothes, he's not wearing any clothes, he's not wearing any clothes! And they began laughing and pointing. And the emperor rushed back into his castle. Oh, if we could all be as wise as a child.
Thank you, Tanya. I'll let Courtney expound on this further, but two of the criteria for Tanya were that of being enjoyable and entertaining. Both of which check the boxes for me. If we could have 1 minute for evaluations at this time. Derek, and Derek will be working on his competent communicator manual. This is his second project or speech. And he's going to be intertwining this with a project he's working on for work, which is great. And the title is Systems Analyst Orientation Project Plan. So he's requested 5 to 7 minutes, and we'll turn the time over to him at this time.
When I've done orientation in my previous roles, I usually come out the other end more disorientated than I did when I started. And I've asked myself, why is that with me? And I believe there's 2 reasons. One, I never go in with my own plan on how I'm going to approach the training. And 2, I let my ego get in the way. I'm given a set of trainings that I have to do, and I rush through them because I want to provide value to the new team that I'm joining. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, today I give you a presentation that I gave a manager on how I would approach training to improve this. So, my project plan starts with a goal. The goal of this plan is to provide a fully trained system analyst within 1 year of hire. And I believe that every plan you should start off asking yourself why. Why are we doing this? How does this link to our strategic priorities? In this case, if we look at the Mayo Clinic vision in the strategic plan, it's an easy fit. We want to invest in talent and technology. What does the manager expect? What are our outcomes that we hope to achieve? 1, to be able to support the probation system within 3 months of hire. 2, to provide data reports and data analysis within 6 months of hire. And 3, to be able to accept an assignment as a project manager within 1 year. How do we define success when this is all done? Well, are we able to meet all these deliverables by the expected dates? And at the same time, be able to provide that day-to-day support, that excellent support that we need for our providers providing patient care. And finally, during this time frame, are we able to add any value to projects as time becomes available? So with this overview in mind, next, I did some high-level planning. So I identified some strategies that were important to me as I approached this. 1, I want to avoid training on Mondays because I know that those days the systems are updated over the weekend, meaning that a lot of the training resources for this training plan would be pulled to helping the system, and also patient care volumes are higher on Mondays. So pushing training back later in the week would free me up to shadow these people, providing that crucial support, and also free my trainers up to assist with that. Once I had that strategy together, I put together a Gantt chart, which is just a way to develop a timeline around the plan. And given my 3 deliverables, I had a set of trainings that I assigned each of the tasks to that deliverable or milestone that I thought it fit with. I then put everything in order, and there was one thing that came up that was important to me, is that I wanted the observations to be moved towards the end of the first deliverable. That way, when I was observing the providers using the system, I was able to have that knowledge of how they were interacting with the software and hardware and providing patient care. Once I was able to order things, I put the task into some dates. Again, trying to push things later in the date. Being careful not to overlap any of the tasks so that I could fully understand each assignment before moving on to the next. And I was able to, with each of the milestones, I added a couple of tasks for a go, no-go decision along with a go live date. The go, no-go decision would provides the manager an ability to sign off on the training to see if I'm ready, if I've actually met that outcome. And the go, no-go date gives me a milestone to work towards. The the go live date, I pushed further back after the go no live to provide some time for remedial training, if that was needed. This was allowed me to put together a scheduled approach training, and I was able to find the first deliverable is a go live date on that 90-day that they expect. The second one, there's a roughly 2-month buffer that allows for some training, and the last milestone is a 5-month buffer. Finally, when would I be able to provide some value to upcoming assignments? With this schedule, I did a capacity chart, and I planned out that year with respect to the administrative and PTO time that I would need, just for day-to-day to catch up on emails and read news center articles and all the comments that go underneath. And also taking account of the training and the project schedule that I've put in order to find out that, given this plan, when would be a time that I would be able to comfortably accept some assignments onto some projects. And at that point, when I was able to, what sort of skill sets would I have? And in doing it, it's a little difficult to see here, but in the purple, you're able to see a burn down of the training that goes through the end of the project plan in October. And in blue, that day-to-day support as I'm gaining more skill sets. It kind of burns upwards until I'm done with training, where it takes 60% of my time. And I'm able to identify some times in here. From August to October, I have roughly 10% of my 10 to 15% of my time available for projects. At that time, I would have completed the data analysis and the probation support, so I would be able to provide support as maybe a subject matter expert or doing data analysis for the project. After the training is done, it frees up an additional 10% or 20% going forward. And at that time, having completed the project management courses, I would be able to help out and assist with some of those tasks for project management for 4 to 8 hours per week. In conclusion, this is my plan on how I hope to approach orientation, so I'm not as disoriented for my next assignment. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Sorry. Do you have 1 minute for?
Okay, time.
It's now my pleasure to introduce our topic master, who is Brian this afternoon. And given our time frame, let's go ahead and plan on having one participant.
Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It was my responsibility to come up with some topics to go over this portion of the Toastmasters, or this Toastmasters segment. So the first topic that I would like to introduce, and I guess the only topic that we have time for, is on Monday we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And I've stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial where he gave that famous speech, that I Have a Dream speech. And I've often contemplated what it would have been like to be there and to hear that speech. And so my topic and what I would like to invite someone to get up here is to talk about maybe an event or a person in history where they would really like to have seen or met.
Thank you, Brian. If anybody ever invents a time machine, I would very much love to go back and meet Leonardo da Vinci. He is the penultimate engineer slash artist slash scientist. Of the cursory history exploration that I've done of him, there has been so much information from him that has been lost. He has so much to teach about observation and how the world goes together that I think our time currently is lacking. He had such a wonderful insight into how he believed everything fit together, how we shouldn't try to reinvent or change nature, but to learn from it and let it lead us by example. Human beings are a fairly arrogant group, and I think one of the greatest lessons that Leonardo can teach me and anybody is the gift of patience and observation. And if Amit was giving a speech, the foundation of Toastmasters is probably right there somewhere else. He is the person that I would love to follow around, not just for a month or 2 or weeks, but a couple of years.
Thank you very much. Yes, appreciate that. And now I'll turn the time back over to the Toastmasters.
Thank you. What Chris didn't tell you is that he's almost done with his time machine. It's my pleasure to welcome Shelley, who's our general evaluator today.
For those of you just visiting or joining us for the first time today, we hope you don't find the evaluations to be an inimical experience. They're intended to be very positive, productive, and offer up some constructive feedback for folks to help them improve their speaking abilities. So we look at what the individual speakers are saying, and we also look at how the meeting is run overall. I'd say today's meeting has been running very smoothly. Thank you for leading us, Ryan. We did begin a little bit late, but I think that was due to understanding the roles and responsibilities. So thank you, Ryan, for communicating that we're willing to be flexible and make accommodations for Toastmasters who are not yet present. I appreciated the demonstration of the buzzer today. That added a nice bit of humor for us all and also makes it feel a little less threatening or intimidating when we use the buzzer. I've often heard people say, oh, I wouldn't dare actually buzz the buzzer. Am I going too long already?
No.
Okay. I really don't know how long I'm supposed to go.
I just couldn't resist.
Okay. So, but I think we kind of think, oh, we can't use the buzzer, it's really bad or negative, or I wouldn't dare use it. We say that sometimes as timers, but it really is to help keep us on track. So I think hearing it once in a while is good for us. Thank you. Another thing I might want to add is that it was wonderful to see the new member inducted today. I had the very same thought that Ryan had, is I was thinking, oh, this is inspiring. It's always helpful to see new people coming in and bringing new energy to this Toastmasters group. So once again, I want to say welcome, and I agree with Ryan that it's inspiring to see new people join the group. We had some great humor today. What a great contrast in our talks. It was really fun to hear and entertaining. Oh, I'm missing.
Don't forget about the evaluators.
Oh, yeah, I'll come up. Okay. Let's do the evaluators first. Sorry, I'm just going to keep going with my own commentary. So if we could have our first evaluator come forward, Courtney. Good afternoon, Toastmasters, fellow Toastmaster leading the thing. I'll get to the point here. Especially Tom. You were charged with telling us a full tale, and I was very excited to hear it from the beginning. As soon as I knew you were speaking, from any experience I've heard from you, I love hearing you speak, whether it's humor and inspiration. I love your story. I had a hard time trying to figure out who you were talking with your pompous intro, so you painted a very good picture of anybody in our imaginations who we might fit that description to. The story was about clothes. I was immediately interested. I was definitely entertained. When you strutted around the stage with your fancy clothes and your drapes, I pictured long capes, drapes, catwalk. I loved seeing it. I pictured very little underneath with that pompous attitude, and I loved it. I had no problem picturing that. I loved hearing the Chancellor's voice. I pictured it right away. I pictured something like that little thing from the Lord of the Rings with the ring and the hair and the dirty teeth. I loved it. I thought it perfectly contrasted the Emperor. And I also loved how they were the first to blame each other. It fit immediately in with the characters. And you had great tone, you were slow, you squinted, you hunched down. You closed him off from the rest of the story because he was deceptive, and I loved it. There was great humor throughout the story, and my favorite part was that the child saved the day and had the wherewithal to admit the truth when none of the adults could. And I heard some of us talking today that that's what children do. That's why they're here. They keep us there. I enjoyed your story. My favorite part was hearing you tell your take on it. It was the best. I loved hearing you tell it. Like I said, I loved all the characters in it, and I loved the Emperor, but I loved how you brought it together. And I loved hearing your version of it, and it made it that much better. Oh, the only thing I could think of is you were very excited to tell it, and I think sometimes you got tripped over your words or you caught a little bit, but I can't fault you for that. I do the same thing. It's an exciting story. You gotta tell it. It was a great job. Thank you for that evaluation, Courtney. And next we're going to call forward Haiwu. Did I pronounce that right? You correct me. Haiwu. Haiwu.
Evaluate Derek's system analyst orientation speech. This is work related. So Derek will give a very formal presentation with the start with overview, define very clearly what you're going to talk in speech. Your goal, your justification, deliverable success definition. You very smoothly transition from overview to the detail, and then not the chart you gave to. So you're the picture worth 1,000 words. So it's very very give your ideas of what you need to achieve in the orientation. And your justification of the Monday, why you try to avoid Monday. It's very good. The reason you have holiday week. It's very good speech. The only recommendation or suggestion when you talk about your chart, I notice you turn the chart for a little longer than you look at audience. I think if you try to get an audience engaged or interested, probably want to go into the chart really quick to turn to the audience and get involved with your topic. Thank you very much.
Okay, now should I proceed with my general meeting? I'm still learning. Okay, thank you for your patience. So, like I was saying, great contrast between the speakers today. I think it just goes to show that you can produce a great speech on any kind of topic. So it was fun to see the two very different formats. The storytelling piece that we heard to begin with from Tanya, wonderful, so entertaining, makes us all happy to come here to laugh like that and to be engaged in that kind of way. And thank you for the great speech that you gave today. We really appreciate it. What a great handle on the content you had, and I think that was expressed in evaluation, and wonderful visual elements to help really drive home your key points. So a very different nature of talk, but really you were well prepared. Thank you for sharing that with us today. So that wraps up the evaluation section of the meeting. Let's not look at this yet. Deanna, would you come forward for the timers report, please?
I am here to present the timers report, which we need as feedback as speakers that we are on time or on task with our presentations. Our first speaker today was Tanya. She asked for 7 to 9 minutes. She was at 8 minutes and 7 seconds. Great job. And our next speaker was Derek, and Derek asked for 5 to 7. He thought he might go a little bit over. You went over by just 8 seconds, and I think that's pretty good. Thank you. Chris, as our one table topics, you were at 2 minutes and 4 seconds, so that was right on the mark. Thank you, Chris. Courtney, for your evaluation, we expect evaluations to be between 2 and 3 minutes. You were at 2 minutes and 22 seconds, right there. Iwa, you were at 1 minute 32 seconds, so you're just under that 2 minute that we look for, but I know that this is very early in your Toastmasters career, and I know that that will change as you get more comfortable being up here. So I'll turn it back over to our general evaluator.
And next we will proceed with the report from the grammarian. Stacy, would you come forward?
Thank you, Shelley. We had excellent uses of unusual words and colorful language, especially coming from the story. Doubloons, strutted, purveyor. Nice. From our more business-like, we still had some good phrases and comments. Go, no go, I like that. That's very succinct. That's what you mean. News Center articles and the comics that go underneath. Very nice, very nice. I wanted to actually educate everyone here about a word that came up. There's a lot of debate in the English world about using the word disorient or using the word disorientate. And I'm here to tell you that they are both correct.
Oh.
Disorientate is the English as an England English variety word. You all remember that. We had word of the day 3 times, great. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was the ums and ahs. We had almost none, I think maybe 1 from Tanya, very nice. We had a few more that came up in Derek's speech. They get better as you go along. That's to be expected at this point. And the same with Ryan, we had a few. Other than that, they were just a few little dropped here and there.
Very helpful. Learned a lot from this evaluation section of the meeting today. Thank you all for sharing that. Would just make a comment on the topic master section, or topic, I'm saying that right? Table topic piece. I know there's sometimes a pause before people volunteer, and I myself am very hesitant to actually come forward on that. And I think that's maybe something we can think about as a club, is thinking and coming prepared that we, if we don't have another role in particular, that we prepare ourselves to participate in that table topics piece to prevent awkward pauses or silences for the wonderful people who prepared in advance for that section of the meeting. So I'm going to commit to that, and I hope you will all join me in that commitment as well. And that concludes the evaluation section.
Great comments, Shelley. I'm just as guilty as she was handing it off to me and I was getting up, so I'm learning as well, so we're learning together. From my perspective, we'll go ahead and conclude the meeting. Is there anything else
Introduce our
before
guests.
we would?
Would our guests that have not joined yet, would they like to just introduce themselves or let us know if they have the paperwork in the works?
You introduced yourself before, correct?
I did.
So maybe for those of us who weren't here at the last meeting or the meetings you attended, maybe just a brief introduction again. I'll get you more comfortable. That'd be great.
I did send my paperwork to Amy, so
Awesome.
I am Miranda Stroop. I work in human resources as a benefits analyst. I have worked at Mayo now for about 15 years, and in my benefits role, I do a lot of orientation and writing pieces, and so I really would like to excel in presenting and speaking, so that's what I need.
Great. Great. Thanks, Ryan. This is the place to be.
Next week, roll call. Do you have it?
I don't.
All right, for benefit of time, I will just read off next week's roll call to let those of you that are present a little bit of a heads up. So next week's Toastmaster is Hiwa. Grammarian will be Sarah Jenkins. Timer is Abby. We need somebody for humor and inspiration, as John let us know earlier today that he will be out of town.
Somewhere warm, I think it was.
If it's not heaven, I hear it's Iowa or something like that. But anyway, speaker number 1 will be Greg Taylor. Speaker number 2 will be Andrew. Topic master is Kaylee. General evaluator will be Jenny. Evaluator number 1 will be Amy, and evaluator 2 will be Ryan. I can't think of any other announcements from the officer standpoint. Now it's back to you, Ryan.
All right. Well, once again, welcome to our new member and member to be here pretty quick, it sounds like. And we'll go ahead and adjourn till next week. Enjoy the week.
I tried to use inimical.